Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall. It's time for the top 8 BDM.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Serum Visions being cast, so you know it's already started.
Yeah, Corey Burkhart is our second seed in the tournament. He's playing Grixix control. He plays very quickly, which I love. And he's playing against Craig Wesco, who's on green-white hate bears. He's got a lot of disruptive elements, mainly attacking mana and the ability to search for it. Also attacking life total occasionally.
And we saw him in his winning in the last round basically play the greatest Leonin Arbiter of all time off of an Aether Vial.
Oh, yeah. Songs will be sung about that Leonin Arbiter for sure.
Brad Nelson did not sack a fetch land in response to the activation.
Either on his turn or in response.
Yeah, and never sacked a fetch land for the rest of the game.
That's true.
Had a couple in play.
All right, but this is a much different draw this time for Craig Wesco, and really important. He's got a Voice of Resurgence on the battlefield now. Grixis control in Corey Burkhart's hand. This is the valuiest. This thing is trying to 2-for-1 you left and right, and Voice of Resurgence makes that difficult.
You see, Jace Friend's Prodigy was the play for Corey Burkhart on his turn too.
Welcome to Modern.
Yeah.
We
Welcome
did
to
see
Standard,
that,
welcome to Vintage.
He's everywhere. We did see Jerry Thompson play Jace in Oklahoma City as well, among other players. But
so Thought Scour main phase is the play for Corey Burkhart.
That's going to get Jace active immediately. This is a pretty cool line here, because if he wants, he can activate Jace and just say, you know what, Voice of Resurgence? You're fine. You're an O2. We'll just keep you in the O2 bracket here and not worry about it. Because that is one of the ways that you can mitigate what is otherwise a very, very powerful card. He's going to terminate this one and then make the token an O2.
Sure.
But either way, he's going to basically just hide behind Jace here. I like this.
Right now it's a -1/1.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's unlikely to grow big enough to do any real damage here anyway.
No Aether Vial for Craig in the early turns, which makes those terrible draws later in the game.
Yes, and they're so good early.
Yeah. You see he's got a Leonin Arbiter in hand, and he's eyeing his Ghost Quarter. He's eyeing his Strip Mine, as it were. With a Leonin Arbiter in play and your opponent tapped out, they can't search their library for land for the Ghost Quarter, and it effectively becomes Strip Mine. Yep, and that is the line that Craig Wesco is going to pursue. Plays the Arbiter, eats the Steam Vents. Corey just has to grin and take it. Has lands in hand, though. He seems fine. He's got plenty of options here for dealing with the Leonin Arbiter. Maybe even dealing with them twice. Yeah.
How about Kolagon's command? Buy back my Tassiger.
I like this.
Jeez.
That seems good.
I do too. I'm interested in what Corey Burkhart is playing here.
Puts a frowny face.
I don't think that die is signifying anything other than, well, this isn't good. That's pretty funny.
See another Ghost Quarter from Craig Wesco, but he's going to use it to cast his Locks it in Smiter. It's going to be an interesting card if Corey were to choose the discard mode on a Colligan's command.
Great point.
I'm sure something Corey's well aware of at this point,
Absolutely.
having played through 15 rounds of Swiss with this deck, ends up being the second seed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to win too many of these if you are giving your opponents free 4/4s. So, and Corey has won plenty of matches, and he's going to terminate the Smiter.
Yep.
And I just love how he's playing this. It's just beautiful. I'm so happy.
I don't know. Look at all these cards I have. I'm going to clean up a little. Spring cleaning.
Yeah.
Have a garage sale.
It's been really tough. I mean, Craig Wesco, he has seen sort of the ultra fair side of his deck. Right?
Yeah.
You know, we'll see other angles of this deck that look a lot less so with the Aether Vial that you mentioned earlier, and some of the Ghost Quarters with the Leonin Arbiter. These type of things can look really unfair for Modern, and you get effects that you just don't normally get.
You see Craig, as he wants to do all the time, just rereading and double checking cards.
Yeah, sometimes I think people mistake that he's just he doesn't know what that does. No, he does. He could tell you.
Yeah, but sometimes
it's like
there's
so much better to read.
Sometimes there's a must or a may clause.
Yes.
That you might be. Sometimes you just flip things around in your head.
The thing is, it's just you have to look at it as a balance. Like, what's the cost of me doing this? It's 3 seconds.
Right. And honestly,
and if
your opponent
gets you
thinks
something every once in a while, then you're good to go.
And if your opponent thinks less of you for doing it, that's kind of maybe works in your favor too.
All right, here's Path to Exile after an Aven Mind Sensor, so Corey's going to get a chance to try to hit. Oh, easy.
Oh, hey.
There we go. Only 4 cards, sir. It's got to be a basic, which I'm assuming is not likely to happen here. In fact, let me get a quick look at the mana. All right, he actually has 2 islands, a mountain, and a swamp in his list, though. The mountain's already, on the battlefield. So he had 3 outs there out of those 4 cards, but he missed. And again, now we're starting to creep into that. Wait, that isn't as fair as casting, kind of big dumb creatures or whatever. So.
Are we going to see an emblem?
I doubt it. Usually it's better to just go for the value.
I mean, we've seen all other we've seen poison wins, we've seen damage wins. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a decking win.
I would watch it. God, how many Kolaghan's commands can one man take?
He's telling Craig to discard.
Oh, he must have the read here. He hasn't seen his hand, right?
No, he hasn't. Discards a looks like a Voice of Resurgence.
It was another voice. Yeah, he had that since his opener, actually.
Found a blue source. And we're on 9 loyalty for Jace. I love that. I love that die. And he just hasn't been able to make a dent in either Corey or Corey's loyalty on the Jace. Telepath Unbound.
Craig has made 1 profitable play so far. This, 1 inch forward towards winning the game. That was Path to Exile.
There's Scavenging Ooze.
That didn't net Corey a land. And that was not a major step in the right direction either. It helped a lot.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of work to do here. Now, Scavenging Ooze is a nice one.
Yeah, it can do a little work if Jace decides to target a card. Corey goes to 14 here. Craig's life total hasn't been threatened at all, but that's not how this deck wins.
Right, totally.
Eventually, it's just going to find something to kill him with.
No, yeah, this is absolutely a control deck in that sense. Still just the one blue mana store so far for Burkhart, though. Yes, he's got a Sulfur Falls there as well, so he's okay.
He's going to Thought Scour himself. Goes past an Inquisition and a land. Finds a Lightning Bolt.
Jeez. There's enough creatures in the graveyard that he can't just fire it off willy-nilly here. As Craig can actually grow his ooze above bolt range. But if Craig gets a little impatient or just says, yeah, I'll just start eating some creatures, he probably doesn't have it, that could come back to bite him. And there's P and Kieran Millar here for Corey Burkhart. Another card that's popped up here and there is kind of a nice top-end card that gets you 3 bodies in case you're behind on board. It gives you some flexibility with throwing Thopters around, that kind of thing. Sad face die is too good. I just like that it's on Craig's face.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
It's very iconic here.
He is sending an emoji to the Magic world here.
So the interesting thing here, though, is Corey has left the door open now for Scavenging Ooze to start gobbling up some creatures on end step and get to 4/4 range.
Yep.
Which would mean that if Corey wants to kill it eventually, he's going to have to dedicate more resources to it. Probably a Thopter and a Bolt at least.
Right. See, Craig only gives 1 life. He took some damage from the Horizon Canopy for the second activation. Is down to 1 card in hand.
Yeah, P and Kieran Millar, relatively new to this list. If you follow Magic Online, and this deck is actually very popular on Magic Online, and yeah, P and Kieran Millar has kind of become a one of standard in the main.
You know, Jeskai Twin deck in the top 8 has it in the sideboard.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean we've seen it. We've seen it in a number of different decks.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
So Scavenging Ooze
should make little Chandra tokens.
But I don't know about the flavor of throwing them at your opponent's creatures. It gets a little murky after.
Hurls a flaming baby through the sky.
There's something that doesn't sit well with that. So I think Thopters are okay.
Yeah. So Scavenging Ooze comes in. Corey's like, I have no interest in ultimating Jace.
Yeah.
And there's Voice of Resurgence. Empty-handed for Craig Wesco. Now, do you feel like if Corey had not played the Pia and Kieran and had passed the turn, that Craig would have activated the Scavenging Ooze anyway?
I think that was the other line that Corey could have taken, is to try to find a window to get Scavenging Ooze dead. I think the key for Corey is to try to determine how big of an issue that Scavenging Ooze actually is for him. And the answer is, it is a pretty big issue, right? You know, Corey does rely on his graveyard with Snapcaster Mages and Kolagon's commands to try to generate value, so that matters. Also, he's now going to have to probably find something bigger than combination of burn spells to kill Scavenging Ooze without having to take like his entire turn to do it. The question is, he had to look across the table at Craig Wesco and try to decide, is Craig going to just start eating things and play around both or not?
And to be fair, Craig has played pretty conservatively throughout this tournament.
It's true. So, you know, he decided that he would rather just get a bunch of stuff on the board. I think if I was Corey, I probably would have tried to work out getting that Scavenging Ooze dead and see if that works. But it's kind of hard to blame him. I mean, this is a pretty safe play, you know, just getting things on the battlefield. But the Scavenging Ooze can absolutely get out of hand, and that is an issue.
Okay, so Lightning Bolt takes down the Elemental token.
And Oh, he's still going to just keep plussing Jace. Interesting.
Well, minusing it's not going to do anything because he's just going to
Oh,
remove the card.
he still has green up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Forgot. I thought he had tapped out this turn. And I thought, well, this is the window. But yeah, no, you're totally right, BDM. So he's kind of stuck just minusing Jace now. And now the Scavenging Ooze is really kind of wreaking havoc with Corey's game plan. I mentioned Snapcaster and Kolaghan's command, and of course, Jace also relying on this graveyard. It just makes things awkward when Craig has this much mana.
Right.
You know, he has the ability to kind of keep up mana, play around, which is, again, I think I like.
Well, now he's so far out of like a normal amount of damage range that it's got to be a terminate that takes down the Scavenging Ooze.
I think he's not attacking Jace anymore.
Right. Corey's willingness to just take the Jace damage.
Yeah, Jace would still be alive potentially here anyway.
Okay. So block with a token, throw it at Voice of Resurgence, get an elemental token.
Nice. I really like where Corey's at here anyway. I mean, the Scavenging Ooze is annoying, and he is going to need to find an answer. But, I mean, let's take a look at the type of cards that these players can top deck, right? Craig just top decked Aether Vial, you know, and there's a Dismember.
Oh, is that Dismember?
Yeah, I think so.
So we have our first result from the top 8. Aaron Webster with Affinity has already defeated Thien Nguyen with Titan Scapeshift on the next table.
Well then, made short work of that one, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a quick one.
Yeah, Thien Nguyen was playing.
Turbo Scapeshift.
Yeah, he was playing the Primeval Titan version for those of you that remember that one. And he's done.
It sounds like that actually just went 3 games already.
Yeah, well, we're in game 1 of our main match here, so we're getting max value, no doubt about it. Yeah, and Craig pluses his Scavenging Ooze a couple of times there as well, and Corey's still just sitting on that Dismember.
In comes the Ooze.
Now, Corey could be thinking of trying to line up some type of double block plus maybe throw the Thopter plus
then
the
finish off with
Dismember.
Yeah.
So because Craig is, there's a lot of glare on this graveyard, but I think he's only got the 1 creature left. Is that what you see?
Yeah. Corey agrees with you.
So chuck the Thopter here.
So that's going to have 4 damage on it.
No real rush here for Corey. The damage gets done, so like you said, it's got 4, so he's going to need to get 3 more or dodge 3 more going on there, and that's going to be real tough for Wesco.
Yeah.
So
-5, -5.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, again, you know, going way back to that turn where he decided not to try to take out the Ooze, you know, that also may have not worked, right? I mean,
Sure.
it was a risk that he was taking.
Yeah.
Had it worked, his life would be great right now. You know, because he's basically had to use up most of Bianke and Nalar.
Yeah, but now he's going to get to turn on his Jace.
Yes.
Which is going to let him call against command back P and Kieran.
That's his plan. I think he just wants to kill the elemental token
Well, I guess P and Kieran are probably going to get eaten here just for value.
on the scavenging his way out. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, good point. And if Craig doesn't have much else going on, he may just gobble up as many things as he can. Because remember, he can also try to go for the targets as well.
Sure.
You know, for Jace.
Right. Get the Colligan's command out of there.
Exactly.
Get the terminate. Well, I guess you'd start with the Colligan's commands because they're going to be the most value-y.
There's 2 of those. There's 2 terminates. There's also a Thought Scour, P and Kieran Nalar, and a Bolt. I think there's also an Inquisition in there that I'm assuming is not super important. Now, so Craig's going to try to weigh out, well, all right, how much green mana do I have? What does the graveyard look like after I take everything else out?
First he takes out the Pia.
I think he actually took out one of the terminates first. Yeah, so they're both gone now. So he's prioritizing those. But this does mean the Kolaghan's command is going to still be in there because he's only got the 1 other green mana there, right? I suppose he could come up with 1 more green mana if he wants to Ghost Quarter himself. I'm assuming he's got a forest. Yeah, he does. And he could leave him with just Thought Scour, Serum Visions, Lightning Bolt, Inquisition if he really wanted to. It's just leaving him with the Kolaghan's command just kind of doesn't get the job done, so he's going to do that.
Yeah. Ghost Quarters himself, gets a forest. Wow, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not all rosy here, you know, for Craig Wesco because Serum Visions just does work on its own, right? Like, the velocity will keep going forward here for Corey Burkhart. But, yeah, he's going to slow him down. Inquisition in hand for Corey, I believe. Which he'll probably just fire off.
That Inquisition's going to be good because it's going to get a Leon and Arbiter. Oh, it's a Solid Pride Mage.
Sure, that's great. The Aether Vial only on 1. Now's the time to do that.
It looks like he's going to bolt the Elemental token with Jace.
If he does that, he'll have it on 4. Jace probably takes 3 damage from the Stirring Wildwood. But he does get to untap with a Jace in a bit of an awkward position, though, because of the creature land.
What a weird game.
It's been a really cool game.
Craig's got 2 counters on that Aether Vial. He doesn't really need to use his mana to cast creatures anymore. Yeah, tax Jace down to 1.
And this is where
Jace
we're at.
can't defend itself.
Right, that's the problem, is the creature land is sort of Jace-proof in this way. And I think that Corey just went land, and that Jace is actually going to be down here after all that.
Wow.
This has been a really interesting game.
Craig tries to be very careful, mechanically manipulates his Aether Vial at the end of every turn. Puts it up to 3 counters here.
He's going to hold his breath and hope there's no terminate here, but he knows that 2 of them are already gone.
Wow. Jace down.
Only 1 left in the library for Corey Burkhart. He finds a Lightning Bolt, which really doesn't look that great here either.
Yeah.
He just hasn't really found much action here in the later part of the game.
Because Craig found a Brimaz, is that why his Aether Vial's on 3? He did.
Holy smokes.
He did find a
2-turn
Brimaz.
clock here. And both of these creatures are not susceptible to Lightning Bolt. He's also got, yeah, he drew a second Horizon Canopy, but his mana's tied up right now in the Stirring Wildwood. And this one could be over next turn if Corey Burkhart bricks on 1 more draw step.
Scavenging Ooze. The whole game hinged on that card
Certainly did. Oh, Serum Visions off the top for Burkhart. He's down to 5 life. He is going to need to find some serious action. And you know, BDM, to strengthen your point there, you know, the legend of that scavenging ooze is still holding strong in this game, as wiping out the relevant cards from the graveyard means, you know, normally this is the point of the game where you're like, come on, Snapcaster Mage, right?
Right, you can start doing like Snapcaster, or almost like recursion with the Colligan's commands.
Right. And really just get that chain going where one Snapcaster leads you to like 3 cards, you know?
Yeah.
Corey decides that it is safe for him to go ahead and crack this fetch land to thin out his deck. And here we go. Serum Visions. He found a land. Kolaghan's Command on top. He can Lightning Bolt something, but he's just dead.
Wow.
Craig Wesco. Nice.
Scavenges his way to victory here in game 1.
Yeah.
You know, Corey's thinking about that. He's like, well, maybe he would have activated
why
the
did
scavenging
they print
ooze.
that card? Yeah, he might be thinking about that. What a
But
fascinating
I'm not convinced that Craig would have activated.
Me neither.
Craig has been very, very cautious about putting his guard down with this deck. Anytime you see him, you know, even those little things like with the Aether Vial at the end of the turn, he's like, I'm going to tap my Aether Vial. You know, and that came into play actually in the match. Well, it didn't really come into play in the match with Brad, but you know, it's like as long as you're always tapping your Aether Vial, your opponent has to think about responding to it every time. And Brad didn't respond to it in the last round of Swiss. Had a fetch land in play, brought in the Lien and Arbiter, and then just stranded that Misty Rainforest
Literal the entire game
for the rest of the game.
Yep.
So yeah, so I am unconvinced that Craig Wesco would have just valued his scavenging ooze and put it at risk for a lightning bolt.
You know, it is interesting. There's other lines you can take there as well, depending on what the board state was exactly. But like, you can minus your Jace, and just because remember he only had 2 green sources up, and just be like, get my Kolaghan's Command back or flashback my Kolaghan's Command. And just look at Craig and say, you want to exile that, you're losing your ooze. Right, and then you just say, okay, I'm trading a bolt for an ooze and a potential activation, and you're not happy about giving it up, but you can kind of force the hand. Because if Craig just lets you have a Kolaghan's Command, then you're fine anyway, because now you have 5 damage to kill the ooze either way.
Right.
So you can just be like, hit the ooze, he'll say, I'll, you know, exile a creature, and then you just bolt it or whatever. You know, so there are interesting lines. But the thing is that it has to be, you have to have exactly the right mana, everything has to be set up for that kind of thing.
See a match getting swapped into the back table. I believe that's Robert Long and Alex Bianchi. So that's Red Blue Twin and Jeskai Twin. That's that matchup.
We're moving them over.
Yeah, we're moving them over in case, you know, if we go to a game 3 here, or if they start before these guys are done sideboarding, we might check in on them.
I got to say, after seeing that top deck from Alex in the last round of Swiss, he's just a heavy favorite to win the tournament. It was a really sweet game. See, the players do have deck lists available to them, and Craig's trying to line up his best possible sideboard options against what he thinks Corey's going to be bringing in.
Take a look at the sideboard here for Corey Burkhart. Damnation seems sweet.
Yeah, that's a real magic card.
How about Damnation?
Yeah, I like that. Anger of the Gods, also excellent.
Yeah.
Is it Staticaster's less good, but probably still worth bringing in?
Sure. I mean, you think about Damnation with that in a situation where that's in your deck and you have that Jace with 9 counters on it. You're like, Damnation. You know.
This one will be over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't scavenge and use this. Craig, on the other hand, let's see. Maybe a choke?
That would do some work. He's got one.
He does.
Wouldn't be shocked to see Burn and Forge Tender either. He does a pretty good job against Bolts and Kolagon's commands. Gaddock Teague. You know, Corey's deck actually doesn't seem that susceptible to Gaddock Teague.
It isn't. He's got what?
When you say it isn't, I think it just might not be at all.
Well, Damnation. He brought it
out of
in.
the board, sure. No, you're right. Damnation out of the board's a thing, but it's just one card.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, his expensive delve card is like just creatures. So yeah, he's good.
All right, 7 cards. Corey's going to be on the play. I see a Jace. I see 2 Jaces.
Well, that's the beauty of Jace. You can loot the other one away.
I was just going to say, perfectly drawn up. Or if the first one gets it, Path to Exiled.
By the way, if I'm Corey, I crack my fetch on my
my
phase
gosh.
out of pure fear
I am
of
just
nothing. There's literally nothing that could punish me for that, and I'm doing it every single time.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm just cracking. I'm just worried about like 3 Simian Spirit Guides, a Metamorphose, and an Aven Mind Sensor coming into play. Anything.
I think he actually did this untapped, meaning that he's going to Thought Scour to try to get this Jace up online as quickly as possible. I like that.
There goes another Thought Scour and a Terminate.
And, of course, the original goes in the yard as well. And that means that Jace next turn is ready to turn over.
Here it comes. Jace Friend's Prodigy. Craig Wesco's already got his Path to Exile shuffled to the front of his hand.
He did play his Temple Garden tapped, though. Interesting.
Corey's like, yes, thank you.
This is going to prevent him from playing a 2-drop this turn. So he's just going to play a land instead, but he has the Scavenging Ooze in his hand.
Wow.
Maybe a misstep there from Craig?
Here it comes.
I mean, the damage, his life total doesn't seem super important here.
Jace it up here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we were joking about looting away the other one, but
turns out people like to kill a Jace.
now, did you see if Craig has a choke in his hand?
I see an old-looking green
a choke.
card. That might be
Can he
a
go
choke.
land choke here? That would lock down just the island currently, but kind of put Corey in a bit of a bind. He also has a Tectonic Edge.
He's going to path another Jace.
Like I said earlier, Corey does have double island, mountain, and swamp in his list. He's already got 1 island and 1 swamp, but
goes and gets a mountain. That'll be good.
yeah, well, and you know, because a lot of times choke really gets people when they're just getting duels, and you can lock them out of colors. Now Corey's just not going to be locked out of red or black here. Scavenging News is the follow-up play for Craig. Craig won a drawn-out and dramatic game 1.
See that the damnation did come in for Corey Burkhart.
Oh, yeah. All day.
Yeah. Sometimes literally with the Jace. So what are we going to see here? Colligan's command?
The shields are down. Getting rid of Scavenging News here.
They're sort of
Pretty
down.
nice. Are they not down?
They're sort of down.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a Loxodon and Spider in hand for
Oh,
Craig Wesco.
backup shield, I see.
Okay. We'll start things off, looks like, with Serum Visions.
Corey. Keenly aware of choke, I'm sure. Yeah, he did get a chance to look at the list. He
Been
knows
playing
it's
for
there.
a while, too.
Yeah.
So here it comes.
Uh-oh, is he doing it? Kolaghan's command. Does he have a creature to get back?
He does it. Yep.
Oh, he's making him discard. Cards in hand was the question. And yeah, take a smiter for free. Oh, but Corey had the plan. Dismember it.
But Craig is going to get to untap and Stone Rain 3 lands here with choke.
Yeah. That's pretty good. And it completely takes Corey off of blue here. So, yeah.
Choke, for those of you who may not have played with the card before, islands don't untap.
Don't seem like a particularly fair Magic card at this moment.
I mean, there was a time where blue was so much better than every other color that it was actually kind of a fair Magic card.
Well, Corey is under a lot more pressure than he just was. I thought he was kind of maneuvering around choke there, but he decided just to get in there, and he gets punished really hard here.
He's got some mana to operate here.
He does. He has 3 that he can use continually, and then if he wants to get a blue source with that Scalding Tarn, he gets
He gets a one
yeah,
shot. He can fetch a Lotus Petal.
That's right. Pretty much. Well, this is good news for Corey, though.
Yeah.
Craig's going to crack Horizon
that's
Canopy.
scavenging news. That's not the
Oh,
greatest
that's
news.
pretty good news for Craig Wesco, yeah.
Craig has really made this deck look very good
He has
all
indeed.
weekend
And he's
long.
even, like, drawn a lot of lands here and still able to operate pretty cleanly.
Blue source coming up here.
I saw the chat was asking if Corey plays any Sulfur Falls. He does. He's got 2. Not fetchable, but
Sure.
hey, if he finds it, then he will have blue mana repeatedly available to him again. So that's a thing. It is an option.
Snapcaster Mage.
Now he's going to cash in that Lotus Petal that you talked about. In this case, it's a watery Lotus Petal. What is he going to get back? Dismember and just take out the ooze here?
Not sure where we are.
I think
Scav Juice is on the stack.
the Snapcaster, you mean? Yeah.
Terminate takes down Scavenging Ooze. Choke takes down another victim.
Yeah.
But Snapcaster Mage gets to attack in for 2. And 2 blue cards stranded in hand for Corey Burkhart. Looking
So
for
brutal.
a Sulfur Falls to go over.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, it's just now on Craig Wesco to find some action. He's going to Tectonic Edge to take away land now in quantity, rather.
There's a Voice of Resurgence.
And that's a threat. That works. I saw also in the chat people were asking if Corey has any ways to get rid of a choke. And, you know, part of the color pie is that these colors don't.
Yeah,
they just don't. They don't get to deal with enchantments. Now, there's other cards you can, you know, I mean, Karn or whatever, but he doesn't have them.
Yeah.
That choke is
sometimes
there.
an Echoing Truth or something
Yeah,
along
something,
those lines.
get it out of the way, untap and go, but got nothing.
No, I'm not
It's
seeing
just
it.
staying there. That choke has some super glue under it, and it's not going anywhere.
Here is Wiltleaf Liege.
That is going to make a very quick clock if Corey doesn't have another Terminate or something along those lines. He says, come at me. That's 4 damage. Oh, Corey.
Wow.
This is tough, man. These sideboard cards are raw, and you can see it on Corey's face there. He knows he's in big trouble. Remember, he's down a game.
Yep. Down a game, 4 islands, and a Snapcaster Mage.
Engineered Explosives was asked about in the chat. That is another good way you can deal with a choke. Unfortunately, Corey only has 2 colors of mana and no Engineered Explosives either. Yeah, he just doesn't have those on the board. He could. You know, that's a card he could have. He just decided not to run it. Ooh. Blue mana for a turn. See what he does with it. He plays another Snapcaster Mage, and he's going to get back Dismember to take down the Liege.
Yep.
This is going to cost him a lot of life total here, though. And, you know, Craig Wesco just doesn't need that much to make this work. That was a Burnt and Forge Tender, I believe. It is an interesting choice, though, that Craig has here, because he can attack and trade and get the token, and then, you know, play some creatures and try to just get the token in there big enough next turn.
Yep. That's what he's going to do.
Okay. So it's a 2-2.
The card he's...
Lightning Bolt would be nice here. He drew a Terminate. He's not going to be able to hit the Burnt and Forge Tender, but he can take out the token and try to draw out this game as long as he can. I mean, I think Corey wants to see, you know, Tassiger or something like that. Leonin Arbiter. At this point, it's a 2-2. It's going to kill Corey in short order here. So there's Terminate on the token. Get in there for 1, but this means that Craig Wesco has lethal. He found a Jace that he can't cast, and Craig Wesco wins the match 2-0, puts himself into the semifinals with some really nice sideboarding and some solid play from Craig there.
Wow. Choke for the win.
Ugh. Just gives me the shivers thinking about it.
I have that in my Enchantress.
You do?
I do.
I didn't know that.
Canadian Highlander deck.
That's interesting. I will definitely keep that in mind. All right, let's move over and take a look at Alex Bianchi's playing against Robert Long, Blue-Red Twin versus Jeskai Twin. So the Jeskai version, of course, a little extra into white, where Robert's on the more traditional blue-red.
We still have one more twin deck to take a look at in this top 8.
There were 3.
There were 3. There's a matchup, Benjamin Nikolich playing Blue-Red Twin versus Robert Cucunato with Affinity. That's our replay table.
Okay. Alex had a dramatic victory to make it into the top 8. So it looks like Alex picked up the first game here. He's up 1-0 over Robert Long. But he's got Teferi in play. And when you're talking about 2 blue decks going at it, Teferi is a big game.
You never need to do anything on your turn ever again. No.
Don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Robert's down to 8 life. So he's got a roast in his hand and a serum visions. I believe.
Please make your way to the side of the gathering area. On-demand booster draft number 88.
It's so nice knowing your opponent can't cast anything at instant speed here.
What was that? That's roast. That cannot hit flyers.
Oops.
Yeah, he can't do that. He can take out a Snapcaster, though.
Only cast spells when they can cast a sorcery.
Yeah, it's interesting because if he wants to try to take the race to him, he can roast one of the Snapcasters and then that cleans up an attack on the ground. The problem is he's behind in this damage race. He's at 8.
This is just a reminder.
Snapcaster, I'm assuming that there's a lightning bolt hanging out in the graveyard somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, so sure, he didn't roast. But, I got to wonder if he just wants to roast there, a Snapcaster attack, knowing that he's going to be able to kill the Vanillion Click anyway. And then he can play the other Snapcaster to block. Basically, he would be in for 5 damage and trade off Snapcasters. So the board instead would have been nothing for Alex and 2 creatures for Robert Long.
Alex Bianchi is attempting a PN Karen here.
Now, this could also explain Robert's line if he... well, let's see what he's got, actually. Oh, that happens.
Wow.
Uh-oh. This could slip away from him. He's going to activate his Desolate Lighthouse here. Yeah, you're going to have to discard still there, Robert.
Yeah, there's a reason no one likes to go to that lighthouse too much.
It is a good card.
It'd be like standing room only lighthouse if you just got to draw a card.
Yes, indeed. Or like a library.
Yeah, well, strictly better than a library, right? Like just any time. How many points would that card be?
Well, you have to pay.
Sure, that's fair.
I see that Robert has found, though, a Keranos, God of Storms in his hand. He's going to roast PN Kiran Nalar now.
Yep.
Alex not going to do anything. Doesn't have enough mana to kill Teferi anyway.
Can cast Serum Visions. He can cast his Keranos
Whenever he wants.
whenever he wants.
Yeah. Instant speed.
Interesting. Just plays it here.
Hmm.
All right.
Alex finds this.
It's alive, by the way.
Is it really? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? It's totally alive. Yeah, see, this is where, going back to that turn a couple of turns ago, I want to see Robert getting in there, right? I mean, Alex's life total is not that high. He was at 13. He just went to 11 off of 2 fetches. Yeah, I like waiting, though, on Keranos
Yeah.
for sure. I just don't see any downside to that.
So Keranos coming up for Alex soon, too. We just saw one on top of his deck.
Off of that Serum Visions?
Yeah.
Okay. Celestial Purge.
Was
Yeah.
that Celestial? Oh, yeah.
And you know what? So he's got Dispel. He's got the old Dispel to Fairy combo going here, which isn't great. But, you know, Robert could have played around that. You do it on end step, and Alex just has to stare at that Celestial Purge. Can't do anything about it. You get that trigger off of Keranos. You rumble with it. I mean, yeah, he's going to need to use the Dispel the next turn to protect it, but still. Got to maximize here.
Draws a Jace.
Yeah, so that's going to get a Lightning Bolt off of Keranos. Robert Long down to 6. He's been playing this very controlling, but now he hits Alex with it. Puts him to 8 because he's got a lethal attack here. Now, he's not going to win this turn, but he can force some chump blocks or some trades.
Interesting. He has a Blood Moon in hand, too.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, that could actually be really good. He's so far ahead on board right now.
It doesn't really affect him. He's blue-red. But, you know, it can choke Alex's white mana.
Totally. Don't say choke, by the way.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Going
that's
back
right.
to that other match.
Yeah, too painful.
Yeah. 5 lands under it or whatever. All right, so he plays Jace first, doesn't activate it, and now attacks. So he wants to find out what the board state looks like from Alex before deciding whether he wants to shrink down creatures or get some value going. Still think ideally you'd probably hold Jace in your hand until after combat.
Sure.
Because this is going to give Alex a lot of information that he didn't have prior. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Jace was revealed to Keranos. So
sure.
Alex has this information either way. He doesn't know 100% if Robert's going to cast it, but with that much mana, he should assume it. So I take that back. It doesn't really matter if he runs it out now or after. It is nice, though, to have, right? If Alex decides he wants to race, you know, Robert can just basically foil the race pretty easily here.
So Snapcaster has to block Keranos here.
Yeah, I mean, Robert is so far ahead here. He's down a game, though. He's got to win back-to-back, so this is just step 1 for Robert Long.
Oh, and I guess part of playing the Jace is also to just keep your devotion.
Oh, you think that... Well, he can't play instants,
Yeah, he
though.
can't play it.
Yeah,
It doesn't
so...
matter. Yeah, that's true.
This is a weird board state.
We've seen a number of those.
Indeed. It's just... We've got Keranos, we've got Teferi.
It's like some great Magic comic book where Teferi, Keranos, and Jace all team up.
All right, so Path to Exile is what Alex has here. And he is going to try to take out Teferi with it.
He's got a Lighthouse in response.
Indeed.
Yeah, Teferi down.
So this means that Keranos is also no longer a creature. Needs a couple of two more pips.
So there's Vendilion Click. And that is that's the game, yeah.
Okay.
Activate Keranos. So we got a game 3 coming up.
Kind of a weird game there. But we're going to get a game through. Get a game 3 here. And I am curious to see how this one goes, to say the least. Blue-red twin, more traditional version, versus Jeskai version of twin. I'm going to take a look at the sideboards here and see what we may find. We see for Robert, we saw the roasts come in. He's also got a Spellskite, a pair of Blood Moon, which he also did bring in. He's got a Rending Volley. And the Gate, that's going to come in. Anger of the Gods, probably not. Ancient Grudge, I would assume not. Teferi, yeah, that comes in. Keranos, yeah. Grim Lavamancer, it's not bad. And then that Jace that we saw as well. On the other side of the table for Alex, he can bring in a Wear and Tear, which I'm assuming he would bring in against a twin player. He's got a Stony Silence, which didn't seem to do much. A pair of Dispels, Pia Kieran Nalar. He's got one Engineered Explosive, that Celestial Purge we saw. He's got his own copy of Keranos, which you saw, BDM. 2 Blood Moons of his own. It's a little weird if both players bring in Blood Moon. Like, one has to be wrong. A Flash Freeze and Negate.
What if they
and
both
2
only
Tumbling
bring in
Force.
one?
What
about that?
Then it's half wrong for each.
So, we talked a lot about Amulet Bloom all tournament long, but Twin is the deck that is the dominant archetype here in the top 8.
There was 3, right?
Yeah.
Two regular twins and one with white. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, good old Modern. I mean, Twin has been one of the better decks for quite a while. It's not so dominant that it's the kind of deck that just slaps you in the face and you're like, oh, great. But it does show up in most top 8s. It's a very good deck.
It's also a very widely played deck.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Wesco drifts by.
Like a vulture just hovering over his prey, or what?
I think they're getting set because we're going to be able to go right from this match pretty much into our semifinals.
All right. Yeah. Craig's on a rampage this weekend. Him and Leon and Arbiter have been doing a serious amount of work.
I called that as one of my top 5 cards on the weekend pretty early.
Well, I called it at number 1. Randy said that it'd have to win the GP to be number 1.
I mean, I'm
But
willing to
it's
give it.
Craig Wesco.
I'm willing to give it number 1 just on that Brad Nelson match.
I'm with you. I wanted to give it 1. I was held back. We have seen that card do disgusting things this weekend. There's no doubt about it. I want to know what other would be your top 5 cards in here. And if you want to tell us in the chat too, I'm reading it while we're on Shuffle Cam here. I am curious to hear, what were the big cards for the weekend? Arbiter, absolutely. And we don't usually pick cards like, Lightning Bolt or something.
Sure.
We know that one's good. It's kind of like what stood out this weekend in particular. Curious.
I'm a little sad that our Turbo Scape Shift deck has fallen by the wayside because he listed in his top 8 profile the most valuable card in his deck, Commune with Lava.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Yeah.
He said Commune with Lava. It has been my.
There's been some good answers here.
It's been my Sphinx's revelation.
I like these. Choke.
Yeah, well, Choke is.
Yeah.
Choke is just huge.
P and Kieran Nalar has been called.
I think that's an actual top 5 card. We've seen it really breaking out in a lot of decks.
Yeah, it's tough because it's just like a one of, so it's like, you don't want to go too crazy, but I agree.
But we've seen it across a number of different archetypes. Sometimes main, sometimes side.
It's true. No, you're right. You are right. And it has made a big impact in the games when it came down to.
All right, Serum Vision's here for Alex Bianchi.
Teferi, Spellstutter Sprite, Ghost Quarter. Of course, somebody had to say Bolt. All right, and Stormcrow, of course.
Of course. Tell Nate Holt to be quiet.
Yes, we don't want to leave that out.
So Celestial Colonnade, a non-island blue source for Alex Bianchi there.
God, I'd love to know how they sideboarded. you know, sometimes these matchups become so grindy and so controlling that you almost don't want to be going for the combo. You know, you just want to try to dedicate as many slots to not taking those type of risks when both players are so often just playing lands and saying go, and you just never really have that clear path.
I think we're going to see Grim Lavamancer here.
Came out of the board. Pass it to turn back to Robert. So slow start here. Neither player really off to a blazing start, but this is pretty normal.
He's got a Vendilion click.
Somebody said Taigam scheming for the card.
I mean,
maybe a little more wins on the board and we'd be talking about it, but
yeah, it turns out it was a dead tie between Taigam scheming and Butcher of the Horde, for which of those two fringe playables will make top 8.
Indeed.
Okay, 4th land past the turn.
Robert's the one with the Grim Lavamancer. He doesn't really have to do much.
He wants to get some cards in his yard, though. Is he just going to fire off an Electrolyze here?
I think so. This does open the door for Alex. He's got a few ways. He's got a Celestial Purge.
Yeah.
Yeah, take out the Lavamancer if he thinks that that's a long-term issue. It seems that he doesn't.
Okay. Serum Visions. See another sideboard card there for Robert Long. Looks like a Rending Volley. Negate, also a sideboard card for him.
And Alex has played the sum total of 1 spell this game so far. But he has not missed a land drop. He's up to 5, where Robert's stuck on 3 currently. Well, I'll make that 4. And now the players are just kind of passing the turn back to each other. Go. Another land off the top of the deck for Robert. He's 1 land drop behind, but as long as he keeps hitting them, he's okay. Robert's not using his Grim Lavamancer. He's not attacking with it.
Yeah, he's definitely not attacking it into a colonnade.
Yeah, you know, I don't think he's worried about, like, Alex tapping out almost for a colonnade's probably, he's probably more thinking of a Deceiver Exarch, just gobbling it up.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see some fireworks in a little bit here. Like I said, this matchup does tend to play out much more controlling post-board, where they're going to kind of posture and play lands and then go for one big crazy turn.
Okay, we're going to go for a click here.
Okay. So Robert is going to be the one to serve the ball over into Alex Bianchi's court and see what he wants to do about it.
The question is he going to target who's it?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he does want to hit lands.
May decide he doesn't want one of his.
That's totally true. Yeah, it's a tough one too, because
Spells,
Alex has a lot of spells in his hand, and that's a lot of information to get. Like, you would want to get that info.
So responds with a Rending Volley on the Grim Lavamancer.
A Celestial Purge, yeah.
Celestial Purge, I'm sorry, yeah. Grim Lavamancer takes a shot on the way out.
He is going to target Alex.
Yeah.
Which means we get to see his hand too, or do we?
So you see a Deceiver Exarch, a Snapcaster Mage, a Remand, a Flash Freeze, and a Plains. Nice hand here. What do you push Snapcaster?
That's the obvious choice, though. You can play around it currently by not giving him a target for Celestial Purge and kind of forcing him to use it on Serum Visions, but I don't even think he cares about that. Probably would push Snapcaster, yeah.
Just a reminder,
I mean, it's just the best card in his hand.
in our side event registration for the weekend.
There's also the possibility that Robert wants to try to resolve like a Keranos here, something along those lines, in which case he may want to push Flash Freeze and try to run it through a Remand or set it up where he's got to Dispel. Yeah, it looks like that's not the case. All right, so Snapcaster down.
Oh, there's a Blood Moon.
No, that's interesting. That can get remanded, and that would actually, and he's got to remand back, but that doesn't actually get the job done here. Needed to have another land there to make that work. Well, he does have pressure, though. Alex Bianchi down to 12. And, you know, we might actually see Alex go for the Colonnade here at some point. He can't just keep taking 3 damage a turn. That's just going to add up way too quickly.
Here's the Exarch.
All right, looks like he's going to tap down the attacker with it. Remand it. We promised fireworks. This is a big turn.
This is where they decide to fight.
Alex has enough mana to let this, just let Remand happen, recast Deceiver Exarch, and still has his own Remand up. And he's going to do that.
Wisely goes and gets an island.
Yeah, he's got all 3 of his colors now, even through a Blood Moon, which Robert has in hand.
You see another remand here. And he lets it resolve.
Okay.
Plays the land he drew from his remand. Did he play a land already this turn?
No. He's got a land drop. And he just passes the turn back.
Judge just asked the players to perhaps step on the gas a little bit.
Yeah, they are playing a pretty plodding pace here, no doubt about it.
Second colonnade here.
I don't think it's unfairly slow, but, you know, the judges will occasionally step in and just remind them that, you know, they need to finish the match still in a timely fashion. But you can certainly sympathize. They're in the top 8 here. Nobody wants to make that big mistake.
So here
Costs
comes
you a
colonnade.
GB. Rending volley.
He's checking on color there.
That's what he was reading for?
Yeah, just making sure.
Good. And it is, in fact, blue and white. And that means that Alex is down to 8. Both players with plenty of cards in hand. Alex is actually flooding now. He's just...
And he does have another colonnade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he certainly has good places to put all that mana. Ooh, Spellskite off the top for Robert Long. That's interesting. Oh, he's not going to play it, though. He's just going to draw out this colonnade. What's his plan for this? Is it a Cryptic, maybe?
Yeah, I think he's going to Cryptic here.
Can bounce the colonnade.
No?
Oh, he let it happen. Yeah, he must have some type of burn spell to follow up with. He's got Jace. And then I guess he's gonna lightning bolt. Remand your Jace.
There another land in hand for?
Gonna say no.
Yeah. So he's going to remand back.
He's gonna remand his Jace.
Yes.
But
Which
this
counters
didn't-
that remand.
This did not work out well for Robert. Remember, Vendilion Click is in the graveyard now. And
You're
Celestial
saying that's not where it
Colonnade
wants to be?
is still alive to tap for mana or beat down or do whatever. So, yes, he had a fight over Jace that he won. He left it in his hand and denied Alex a card in the deal. But he just outright lost his attacker. So, significant losses were taken that turn from Robert.
Here's Snapcaster Mage. Oh, I like both of those cards.
Was the bottom one a Keranos?
There's a Keranos and a Path.
Path, yeah.
Bottom number 108.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, those are fine. Exactly in the order I drew them on top of my deck.
Perfect.
Wow, this game has swung around very quickly in Alex's favor.
It has indeed. Though it looks like Jace is just resolved. So that could help out. But Alex has enough pressure where, yeah, Jace is probably not long for this world. But he does get to draw a couple cards here.
So, Remander 2 lands. Revealed the top 3 cards with Jace. And now Alex Bianchi has to split him. Goes land, remand, land. Which pile would you take?
The one with 2.
That's what he did. And then he promptly discarded the remand.
Jeez.
Too many cards.
Alex has so much mana here. He's going to make sure that Jace dies. But he has that Keranos in his hand here. If he can cast that and protect it, he could be in real business. He's already ahead.
Here's Keranos from Alex.
This is going to draw a negate from Robert, but almost anything from Alex coming back at him, including a dispel, a negate, even just a remand would get the job done here.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a dispel in hand.
He says, is this on the battlefield or the stack, my friend? It's actually going to be remand that Robert goes for, but it's going to get spell snared. And bang, there is Keranos, God of Storms and Friends. And this game has just taken a very sharp downswing for Robert Long. He's got to win this to move on to the semis, else Alex Bianchi is in.
He's got his own Keranos here.
Yeah, I like Alex's position better here with all that mana available and still cards in hand as well. You know, we mentioned that he drew a bunch of lands, but as controlling as this gets post board, you kind of don't mind. Like, you can use them. He's going to crack a Tarn here.
There is the flash freeze that's been sitting there for a while, but Robert Long has negate to defend.
Yep.
And there's the dispel to mop it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex is finally out of cards here.
Yeah, but he also has a
Robert's
free
not.
shot with his Celestial Colonnade this turn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. There's some value. He's got a Snapcaster Mage already on the battlefield, too. Again, having all of this extra mana really helps. But like you mentioned, if he gets in with Colonnade, it's 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, he's just going to be content to do 4 here.
Get in for 3. Pass a turn.
But now has access to counter magic in his graveyard with the Snapcaster combo with the Angel.
It's right. And I think that what Robert's doing here is he's going to lead off with Keranos. Yeah, this Restoration Angel is really nasty for Robert. He still has that Blood Moon in hand, which he wouldn't mind sticking, but it's just, it's not going to be good. He's just way, way too far behind on board to make it worth it.
He's drawn a bolt, which he's going to use
Oh,
to take
okay.
out the Snapcaster Mage in response to the Angel.
That's a real thing.
The Angel is going to flicker out the Deceiver Exarch, which is going to tap down a red source. There's a Spellskate. That's just game with the Celestial Colonnade here. No, I'm sorry. I'm
not quite
inverting life totals.
Yeah, it's not quite game, but it's close. It's going to drop Robert to 1. And really crimp his options. It also means any Keranos Lightning Bolt just finishes the deal. And I think this is going to be just about it for Robert Long as we wind down our quarterfinal match and move on to the semis.
So he does have the opportunity to play Blood Moon here to shut off the Colonnade.
He still has to find an answer for
He has Cryptic
Snappy.
Command.
Oh, I mean for a Restoration. Really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, he does.
That does change things. Alex is down to 6. And that's it. Lightning Bolt off the top from Keranos, thanks to the Deceiver Exarch. Fires it at Robert Long and puts himself into the semifinals. Alex Bianchi's in there. He's going to join Robert, Craig, and Aaron. And that's going to do it for our quarterfinals.